But is that something that you're aware of all the time, that you go into work as a female in an industry that is predominantly male, I suppose, in tech anyway?
Yeah.
But how can you, as a man, design a perfect shaver for women for legs? I mean,
And I don't want you to design the one for my balls either.
why don't you include women in the initial process of creating the product?
Guys, good evening, welcome. Good afternoon, morning even. Welcome to the Secret Bunker again.
Welcome to the Secret Bunker.
Exactly, episode 8, we believe.
8?
How did we get that? We haven't got the cease and desist. Or indeed, Khaled hasn't got the cease and desist, so we haven't been.
Season 8,
we have
really?
to step up the controversy, Danny.
Wow, we do.
This week, or this day, or indeed this evening, or wherever we might be, we thought we'd talk about something different. Now, of course, we are always keen to be diversifying and inclusioning. Is that a word? I made that up.
Diversifying, inclusioning.
Yeah, I definitely
Donkey!
We've done that before, haven't we? So diversity and inclusion in IT is always something that's being debated. So kind of breaking, I guess, the 7-strong episode chain, we thought we'd invite a lady.
Yeah, lady. Yeah.
So, Dan, if you care to do the business of the podcast.
Yeah, again, welcome back to episode 8, we believe. 8.5, because we did do a trailer.
Yes, we did.
Thank you all for our new subscribers. We're looking forward to bringing this out to you. As you can see today, I'm in matching cap and hoodie. You'll have noticed I do change my hat every week. Again, thanks to our providers, and our, powered by Xtelligence.com, CZ, PL, HU, wherever you are in the world. We're in a secret bunker. And the response has been fabulous. What can I say? We're lining up a number of exciting hosts. As Kenny's already said today, we're going into the gender diversity thing.
Yes.
And again, ring the bell, subscribe if you like the podcast, recommend it to your friends. And if yourself or your friends are looking for a change in your career, then pop us an email to host@infomatterspodcast.com or just put it in the comments box below. Now, we are looking for people to come on the show, exciting like ourselves.
Yeah.
So please get in touch. So, Kenny, if you do the honours and introduce our 8th guest.
I know, who would have thought we'd be that popular, Daniel?
And matching colours.
Absolutely. Now, I have noticed, if you do care to, I don't know if this was intended, but Denisa joins us this evening. And Denisa comes to us from parts of the world that we perhaps might know and well. Of course, we remain quite secret in our secret bunker. And so, Danny, do we know Denisa?
We do.
We do. Did we work with Denisa? I did.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Full transparency, back in our Goldilocks days, we spent some time together, didn't we? In a very professional
But we all did go past each other in the park many, many, many moons ago when you used to work over in Czech Republic.
Absolutely, yes,
back in the day.
exactly. So we welcomed Denisa,
welcome.
and we thought, who
Thank
better
you.
than to provide some commentary on diversity and inclusion in all things. Now, we say Infomatters.
All things pink.
Well, in your case,
Including the peach can.
Yeah,
Exactly.
There's no sponsorship.
I'm liking this.
Feel free. We thought we'd start off with a very obvious question of, now, having spent, of course, some time in Goldilocks with moi, did you experience did we treat you uniformly, nicely? Well, nicely, obviously. Or did you experience...
Were you welcome as a female in the IT industry? I think that's
You
what
always have to be a little bit
Uncle
careful.
Kenny's getting
Where
at.
are you welcome in that IT cybersecurity environment?
I mean, Dennis has been in IT industry before, so how's it? How have you found it? The tech industry, I think you refer to it as.
Yeah. Will you ask for Goldilocks part? Obviously, I was warmly welcomed.
Tony, this is another punt at your...
Exactly.
But obviously, there are little biases or little details which I noticed and I learned over years
Do tell.
working where certain things can happen without even intentionally trying to
Kind of
treat you as a woman.
Like your chair
between
gets
men.
better or worse, or you get a better coffee mug?
Actually, no, that's the point.
The opposite.
And
Yeah.
actually, I am the one who has to bring the coffee,
Naughty. Listen
And,
to that,
of
Tony.
course, that was kind of subconscious, right? So not
Exactly.
it
It
never
was
intended.
not intentional. And I realized even I was behaving certain way, and this is not referring to Goldilocks, but generally over the last 15 years, even I was sometimes behaving the way that I was sticking to my role of being the woman or the only woman at the table.
And is that you being you, or is that you representing women, or
Both, probably.
yeah?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit rubbish at being me, anyone else than me, and I imagine you're a little bit rubbish than being anyone's. But
Look
you.
at me.
I know. I mean, if there was 2 Danny Bunyans, can you imagine?
Yeah.
God. So I imagine, but you've kind of settled into that kind of way of working. I imagine the norm, right? Now, whether it's right or wrong is to be debated. We'll have this.
Was it the
debate.
same in your previous role? I know that you worked in Germany for a while for a luxury brand.
It was a little different because Goldilocks is a startup, and I was in corporates before. So this case was, or these situations were appearing a little differently and you perceive them a little differently. However, even there are little nuances when subconsciously just people tend to treat you the way that you are the only woman at the table, or sometimes you expect to, to look good and be there, and it doesn't mean that somebody was trying to imply or suggest anything about my smartness. However,
which you are very smart.
Well, of
Thank
course.
you.
Well, they would be dead now.
but there are always little details, and I'm honestly actually admitting as well that I didn't notice that even sometimes my own behavior was supporting that.
And is that because you're consciously aware all the time? You feel that kind of not insecurity, but you feel that from people that you're more consciously aware of it, that it affects
it almost
perspective?
breeds a certain different act or a way of, or a
I mean,
different mannerism.
we don't know,
No, of
because
course.
we're different gender.
Yeah.
But is that something that you're aware of all the time, that you go into work as a female in an industry that is predominantly male, I suppose, in tech anyway?
Yeah.
No, not all the time. And if I compare it now compared to 10 years ago, it's really changing.
Good.
For the better.
For the better, yeah,
Fantastic.
exactly.
Okay, good to hear. Yeah.
As you can see, the way I'm dressed.
I know
Exactly.
exactly. It says strengthen a man's character, Daniel.
Word.
Exactly. Now we are guilty. You must actually. We had some feedback over the last coming weeks, so we should talk a little bit less and let the guests talk. So forgive us if we
good luck
ask all
with
these
that.
questions. We are. It's not like
I was
you
just
know,
going to say,
you know.
this is myself and Kenny getting 5 minutes in, and then we're doomed. Now, what we don't normally do is kind of like a little news header. So it's just a little snippet, and I'd like you to talk about it and how you feel.
Yep.
Because it actually caught me out today, actually on the private jet.
Yep.
And there's a retention problem within the tech industry, IT industry, and it states more than 50% of women in tech are likely to quit before the age of 35. Why do you think that is the case?
Because if they don't get the right treatment, or they feel frustrated about the treatment. And when I mentioned little details, in some cases or some companies, it might be quite significant, which thank God was not my case. However, I'm sure, and I've heard stories, then I can understand women will be frustrated and they will just swap the industry, and they will just go somewhere where they feel comfortable. You don't want to feel this pressure and frustration for 40, 50 years of your professional
But frustrated
life.
with what exactly?
I'm sorry?
Frustrated with what?
That they feel they are not treated equally with men.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
so it's that kind of universal headline that follows this diversity and inclusion conversation, and there are efforts abound the world over to make life a balance. I mean, I'm always of the opinion it should be a balance, it should always be capability. One thing, and controversially, I might be saying something here, I'll get a slap no doubt from my left, and Denise is right, is that roles and jobs should be done in capability. Now, rightly or wrongly again, in the IT world, tech industry, it is a very male-dominated industry for reasons. I don't really know why that is. It's just something I've always accepted. And if roles are offered or advertised, like as we know Xtelligence does, and whoever applies, if they have the right capability, they kind of get the job. And I mentioned that because diversity and inclusion always says for balance and for the reasons you describe, we want to hire a lady. And I get that. But sometimes ladies just aren't available, or they don't want to apply, or it's not their thing, and they end up hiring a guy and they kind of break their own intent.
But it might be also a language style you are using for the job advert. Did you know?
point, yeah.
Did you know that if you want to hire for a position, for an engineering position, if you want to hire a woman, there is a different way how you should write the job offer.
I see.
Because women are. This is really research proven that women tend to apply for positions which use less aggressive words. For example, so you should really write the job offer with the job description with modifying few words in order to
remain
attract
gender neutral or
attract
specifically
women.
to. I see.
I actually did a thesis in college, and it was the language acquisition, how English language is used in magazines for women. So
Wow.
deodorant, soft, fluffy, and language in magazines for men, motorbikes, predator, powerful.
Exactly.
Right.
And that seems to apply the same in roles, and that's having an effect. I mean, I've not heard that, but it makes perfect sense.
I've read.
Perfect sense.
I was surprised by that as well, but 2 years ago I was attending a couple of meetings connected to diversity in IT, cyber, and I must agree with that. I didn't realize it until then as well,
Right.
but this is also a big significant part of it.
Yeah. And kind of ongoing, given that you've seen a positive change in all this sort of stuff, is it an industry you want to spend time in? Are we trending the right way? You want to spend more time? Or are you see? I mean, I'm certainly. Let me think about it. A lot of the where I work now, I think we're about 70-30. Maybe not as much as that. And again, I don't think that's for any negative reason. It's just more guys applying, and maybe we need to wordsmith some of the job descriptions in the manner that you say. I actually write job descriptions, and I don't think I'm conscious of who would apply. I don't really care who applies.
Engineering in IT, information technology, tends to be language based, doesn't it? So MSQL, JSQL,
all that
whatever,
kind of stuff,
C++, and then you've got tech, because you've got a background in, from aviation industry.
Yeah.
But also, I think this more applies for the soft skills.
Right.
not the professional. Like if you're looking for a programmer, what kind of parameters? But this is more for the soft skills.
Right, I see.
Part.
I see. And so, are we aside from wordsmithing the likes of job descriptions and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of these large, particularly enterprise-sized companies, have diversity and inclusion policies that dictate certain approaches to attracting ladies into roles and all that kind of stuff. Are we doing enough? Do we need to do more? Are there any examples that spring to mind? And they can be your opinions. They don't have to be wordly adopted. You can tell us, I think the world needs to do this. Anything that we need to do, or anything the world needs to do to make sure that we're trending the right way and that we are getting more.
Drink more peach tea.
Yeah, I was going to say
positive effect.
Well, exactly. By the way, bravo if you're in the market for sponsorship. We're in, by the way. Exactly. We want to make sure.
Ring that bell.
Exactly. And so, is there anything or are we doing all the right things? What do you think? Anything?
Obviously, I would suggest a couple of changes.
Let's have it.
Have it.
It's the controversial, right?
It's what we're all about here. Infomatters, isn't that right, folks?
So I'll tell you a little story.
We'll have a good story. Here we go. Right.
I was having a career coach where she was obviously trying to teach me, how to modify certain behavior, professional behavior in order to reach a leadership level.
I see.
And I read a couple of books about that. And I'm just going to cut out one chapter from one specific book.
I hope you didn't borrow it from the library.
Do people still do that?
Where
Sorry. I told you we'd go easy on you.
I think we're doing the thing we're told not to do, Danny.
And I was surprised by myself because me as a woman, I did not understand why is this wrong.
Right.
Or why would this situation prevent you to be promoted?
Right.
So basically, there was a woman who is now working in a senior leadership position in a very known company in the world, but before she got that position, she was the hard worker, working overtime, volunteering for projects. And her colleague and everybody knew that he was doing maybe 70-80%. However, he spent like almost weekly basis time to go to his boss and emphasizing how he wants climb the ladder and how he wants to be promoted. She did as well, but she didn't spend weekly time in order to emphasize and shout it to the open space.
Right.
And when he got the job, she was frustrated, and at some point the frustration reached a level where she was thinking to leave, and she went to her boss and she told him about that. And he was surprised because he didn't know she wants the job. And she's like, but I told you we had 1-to-1s, and every now and then I'll emphasize it. He's like, oh yeah, you told it to me some time ago, but then I told you you changed your mind.
So hang on, so we've got someone who's enthusiastic and proactive, somebody who isn't, one's male, one's female. Is it the fact that the female wasn't as proactive, or is it because she was female?
Well, basically,
Bob. That was a name.
From man's point of view, he did not find that he did not think that she is shouting enough often and loud the fact that she wants to be promoted.
So it wasn't she wasn't shouting, it was not shouting.
Do you think that's an excuse? That was an excuse
No.
to do the job? Or?
Because after that honest conversation, apparently the promotion happened in a certain time.
Okay.
But me as a woman, I would behave exactly the same way as she did.
Kind of a slightly more subtle approach. I mean,
because I just find it strange that I'm going to be shouting or kicking the door over my boss every week and, hey, I want a promotion. Excuse me.
Maybe the boss wants that.
Yeah, maybe
Probably in a more polite manner.
I mean,
seems like
nobody would describe Danny Rai as subtle.
And
the world wishes we were subtle, but I imagine subtlety in her case wasn't winning her any favours in that regard.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to
from my
because
point of view,
I wasn't aggressive enough going for what I wanted.
Yeah.
And he was.
But from my point of view,
thing?
from her boss's point of view, she wasn't.
I see.
From my point of view, the fact that you are working overtimes, you are taking proactively projects, you are really offering help to your colleagues. For me, this is the way
That should
how
speak-
I
yeah.
show
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
that
That-
I am
should
able
speak-
to take more
That should
responsibility.
speak more volume than a guy
No, sure,
knocking
sure.
the door twice a
And the
week and
guy
saying,
was more using verbal.
I see.
Give us a job. Give us a job.
You could argue that's just a difference in communication, and I don't know if there's
Well,
necessarily
this-
a lady, a
This
lady
is
and
a
a male-female split, or is there?
I believe this is connected to the fact that, women and men are thinking differently.
Yeah,
For sure.
And,
There's a book about that. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars.
Exactly.
Men are from
Yeah.
Venus, women
Exactly.
from... that one. Yeah.
but, this is not the only book I read.
Right.
But you know what is strange? I did not find any book where a man leaders should adjust,
They're-
at least try to adjust if they have a women reports.
I see.
So
I see.
I mean,
all these books.
I report, my direct reports to a female. She's wonderful.
Yeah. And do you find questions maybe for us? I mean, I have some ladies in line management. I get on famously with them.
Brilliant, 'cause it's about the job. She's
yeah.
brilliant at doing it.
And I've never, Kenny, never had a negative experience. But it wasn't because of the any gender involved. It was just because of a difference of opinion. And I've kind of got on famously with all my kind of line management. It's the way I'm built, So I guess that it can come down to, and it can be hard to differentiate between simple manners of management and a subconscious bias to
So do
ladies,
you think
right?
there should be more out there of promoting awareness that
Yeah.
someone is trying to do something, male or female?
Yeah.
Notice those signs, because I'm totally on the fence, and I'm not devil's advocate. Is everyone has the opportunity? Doesn't matter, what
Yeah.
gender,
Exactly.
what race, what what you are. But as you said previously, being the only woman in the room is a challenge, and
Yes.
you see it's getting better.
Yeah.
But
But what I'm trying to actually say with this is I see all those articles and books about how women should change their way of
I see.
approaching business world.
Right.
But I personally did not see any book which says, okay, man, you have 3 women in your team. Why don't you try to go towards their direction and understand the way how they think as well?
Yeah, and do companies give this? Of course, a lot of companies give diversity and inclusion a lot of airtime. A lot of execs these days are bonused on it, almost. When it comes down to that kind of middle management, do we give this subject enough airtime? Do we give, for instance, when people step into management, I imagine, think from what you're saying, that a lot of this, a lot of the training they're given, or indeed if they're given training, doesn't include to be mindful of how to manage different genders.
It seems not.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying everywhere, but again, if I'm gonna see more this kind of cases, then I'm gonna be happy to admit or change my opinion. But right now, from my point of view, I don't really see.
You don't really think so?
There are still plenty of other things which can be done.
Sure. And I was just going to say, if conscious of a lot of the efforts there, which one would hope is pushing us the right way, and thinking of the polar opposite, has there been times when you simply didn't go take a role because of apparent even biases that come out perhaps in the interview, or have you never got to that stage? You've never not taken a role because of what you saw or heard?
No.
I'm kind of delighted to hear that.
I did not have that kind of a bad experience. I heard a couple of stories from my friends or acquaintances, but thank God
It never went that way.
I never went that way.
And so you're still excited to be in and around the tech industry and the information highways. Showing our age here, Danny. I mean, who said information superhighway ever? Well, we did.
we did. We had a 56k modem. More coal.
Absolutely. And because being a young lady, I imagine, do you know what? Of course, you know what a 56k modem.
Well, there was back on your point before. There was another little nugget of knowledge.
Yeah.
Back on diversity, being diversity wins.
Yeah.
How inclusion matters. So a study by McKinsey and Company found that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on their executive teams were 24% more likely to experience above average profitability. So it's there.
So there's real business gain to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. This is a study proven fact. And also but it's quite logical, because if you think about tech companies, big portion of tech industry are household who is doing the household purchase decisions?
Ladies.
Exactly.
Typically, I mean, in mine there isn't a lady,
just
so
to
yeah.
prove that
Well, there is a lady,
with
but,
more information, 50% of all customers are women. So why don't you include women in the initial process of creating the product? I'm sorry, but just a stupid example, but how can you as a man design a perfect shaver for women for legs? I mean,
And I don't want you to design the one for my balls either. Yeah.
You might have to bleep that one. I mean, let's be honest. I get you. I think there are certain.
it was a bit of exaggeration, but you get
Oh,
my
no,
point.
perfect.
It was a good one.
Perfect example.
And then I was going to say, please don't get me in trouble for this. But then, did women design the Airbus doors? That's not a joke. You know?
Oh, we're going to get in trouble for that one. We like to be a little bit controversial. All said in the spirit of course, including everyone in our jokes. By the way, Danny, we don't exclude anyone. Absolutely.
I mean, I mean, you know, we've all known each other for quite some time. You've been in a number of roles in a number of companies. Have you felt the same way in all companies, or has it differed? I mean, you've worked, as I mentioned, you worked in Germany for a company, Czech Republic for a huge, multinational company. Was it better anywhere, or do you notice those niggling bits everywhere you've been?
There were, but as well agree with it was better. There were certain things which were better in one company, but then certain things which were better in another company.
It's scale factor. Is that a kind of sorry to interrupt? Is that a kind of scale factor? Like the enterprise companies, the really big ones are really good at getting diversity and inclusion right. Or conversely, when we're at Goldlock, which is 15, 20 people strong company, everyone's more immediately available. Policies are easily defined and easier to get out. And actually, maybe I'm answering my own question, but you should give us your answer. So, is it bigger in the small company, or bigger or better in the bigger companies?
I personally believe corporates have it. Or are working on it a little better.
I see. Because I guess they have people dedicated to the role.
Exactly,
maybe?
because there are a lot of departments and they have financial options to really hire the right people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a small company and you are trying to get the product out and sell it,
diversity.
I really say for myself. And this is not a positive thing I'm going to say, but the last thing you care about is diversity. You just need to get the company running.
There is a little bit of get shit done, get it out the door, and everyone's a little bit multifunctional. We're not as set in our roles.
You can have an iPad, you can't even have a kebab.
Absolutely.
And the company, these small companies will reach that stage. But they are just at the stage where they are too small.
But in small companies, you expect to be part of the family, blood is like
more family orientated. Yeah, exactly, that sort of stuff.
Let's throw another question at you. So it says, lack of representation.
Yeah.
So women hold only 26.7% of tech-related jobs, about 25% of leadership positions in tech, and 14% of software engineering positions. Why is this, in your opinion?
I would refer this to the story I've told you.
Yeah.
If a man boss keep promoting men reports,
his male colleagues,
then obviously we're reaching the 25%.
Yeah. Guillotine.
Yeah, absolutely. You can kind of see that. I mean, conversely,
this is huge. I mean, that's
a sizable chunk. Yeah.
Actually, yes. I was also surprised by the number because obviously we know there has to be an improvement done, but 25% is really low number.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I did manage to do some research because I was a little bit late this evening. Was that if you look at some of the real big tech startups, the apps and all that kind of stuff, some of the owners are ladies, and they've done really well for themselves. But they have been, if you look at their personality, or indeed perhaps wrongly how the media portrays them, they're really bullish. They are doing the male stuff of kicking down the doors and banging and saying I want to get to.
But again, that's that kind of business.
A very single vision.
So
to getting
Bobby Brown, makeup, female owner, aggressive.
Yeah.
The Body Shop, female owner, aggressive. But we're talking tech.
Yeah.
In a predominantly male.
That's a valid
world,
point.
So
and by the way,
why tech doesn't have the same aggressive? It does have. It's 25%.
It has to have.
Yeah.
It has to have. Otherwise, this comes probably also, or this refers to the way how the world order was done 1,000 years ago. When
off
women,
with his head, or her head.
Nobody's being disciplined. They've been shot in the car park. Right? If they had car parks, you get the point.
Yeah, donkey. So it won't be a car park; it'd be a donkey parking space.
Oh,
It'd be a horse and cart. Yeah.
But was the donkey male or female? Aha. disparity
Absolutely.
amongst the masses.
Maybe even donkeys had diversity and inclusion up. Who knows?
Yeah,
exactly.
The donkeys carried on from a previous show.
A previous show. We'll put a link at the top of the video. And what just on the point of people of ladies doing really well, females doing really well. But I think if the story's right in my head, it came out of some really horrible or lack of diversity and inclusion, which was a lady that left Tinder, went off and started Bumble, one of those dating apps, right?
Yeah.
And she's, a gazillionaire and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly,
And she kind of went, Foxtrot Oscar, I'm not doing it the way you want to do it, I'm off to do it myself, and had some stratospheric success.
Exactly.
And so there's some really good success stories in that sort of stuff. Interestingly, the Body Shop in the UK went fut this week, so we should.
She passed away. Not so.
Yeah, the lady owner. But I just remember that.
How do we change these things? I mean, that's quite unique. If you're a startup or you work for a startup, boom, that idea.
Yeah.
How do you do that with big corporations? You can't just walk away and take their idea.
No,
how do you grow? What do you suggest? To overcome these.
I mean,
feelings.
I don't think the lady stole the idea. I think she just got pissed off, listened to the management, and thought, I'm off to do it myself.
You mean the Bumble and Tinder?
Yeah.
No, she didn't steal the idea because Tinder works in a completely different base than Bumble.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, does it?
I'm married.
I read a nice article about her. So.
Yeah.
And is there a positive female influence on the way this Bumble works?
If you ask me personally.
No, I don't know. I've never been on.
Ring the bell.
I've never been on it in my life. But I'm curious.
Are we turning into a dating cast?
Yeah, we are. Send us your don't send your profiles. No. Let's not go there. I was just curious if her negative experience in one company gave her spurred her on to do things in a radically different way that's given her the success. I don't know if they know enough detail, but I would love to believe that for a bunch of dickheads over here, she said, I'm not going to be a dickhead over here, and she's gone on, and there's clearly some stratospheric success perhaps as a kind of having learned negatively, and she's kind of spun it around. I'd love to believe that was true. I don't know if you know.
I think in her case, this is my personal view of the situation, is that at some point, just because she was her own boss and she decided what she wants to do, this gave her the freedom and the courage. But as well, business world is defined by men. So at some point, this aggressivity, business aggressivity, she had to maybe maintain or get or show more.
Yeah. And that's going to be controversial. Be more like a man. I don't know, because you talked a little bit about how sometimes ladies don't always change their ways, or it's not as apparent.
And then we're into stereotypes, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, exactly. So I mean, careful, Kenny, what you argue here. But hey, we'll be a little bit controversial.
I'm keeping quiet.
Whereupon she in a tech world, I'm not aware of the diversity that was in Bumble if it existed before she started, but she maybe adopted a bit more of the aggressive masculine way, because that's what worked.
Yes.
And if we believe, particularly in the tech world or the even business that it's so-called led by men, then maybe she did adopt that, and she's had the success for it, and good on her, right?
Yeah.
And so
but that comes back to the old times where women's role was being at home at the household, man was the one taking care and providing.
Yeah.
And in some Western countries, 40-50 years ago, woman was not allowed to go to enter a bank and open her own bank account when she was not accompanied by her husband.
Sure.
The same for job interviews. Can you imagine? I have a job interview and I have to take my husband.
This is Bob. he's parked my caravan, and any questions, ask him.
Absolutely. Actually, that wasn't long ago. I mean,
it's not. I mean,
when you consider that some people in this room are 50 and older, and Todd point to the guy behind the camera.
The producer.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, he looks about 74.
He's just, what? He's had
his haircut this week. He's looking sharp.
What is it, Badoo or Bubble or Bubble? He's just been out there going, swipe. Denisa!
Hello! Exactly. You've got a date at least from the podcast. Denisa, this is really kind of interesting stuff, I mean, I don't know if I'm guilty of it. Maybe you guys will tell me, for those that know me. Danny, I don't know if you're guilty of this subconscious bias. Maybe I do things. It's never intended. I don't care what colour you are, where you come from. If you're good at what you do, and we get on, then I wish you all the success. I
confirm that, but because we work together, I can confirm that.
Of course, and I never And we even talked about at some point when we're looking to take Goldilocks to different places, do you adopt a sales engineering role? Because I was doing sales engineering then, and I didn't consider that to be a guy's role. It was just if you knew how to do it.
Okay, let's have a story then. So you've worked with Kenny. Yeah. And did you experience at any point, regardless of friendship outside, because we're friends also, but working together, did you ever feel uncomfortable as a woman working in that environment with Kenny around a table of men? I mean, you've got to be completely honest.
No. Yes. No, because
You're lucky there, man.
I know, that's going to go really south.
It's actually, I am not able to 100% say it's just because we know each other for some time, but I personally think that you are one of the easiest going people to get along with everybody. To get along with everybody.
Say that look on my face.
Danny's well pleased.
I didn't work with you, but I'm sure you are.
I know.
Yeah, we did spend. We did some travels together. We did InfoSec. That was a while back.
That
2,
was
3, 4
lovely.
years ago. We walked the floors together, met some people, did all that kind of stuff. And actually, talking of InfoSec, and we shouldn't. We're not trying to make sure. We are trying to make sure that the podcast is not purely cybersecurity. We kind of started that way. We've talked about a range of things.
What's the last show? Nowhere near cybersecurity.
It's called Transmission Tangents. We'll put a link, and you'll see why that was tangents. That'll do. Donkey is a clue. I was going to mention this back in InfoSec in London. I always remember walking the floor, and talking of percentages, there probably was a good 20 to 30%. Ladies versus 60-70% men, and I'm not sure if they were customers buying or vendors exhibiting. We were exhibiting, but on our stand we were kind of almost 50-50.
Oh, 30-40 to
something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the audience.
Yeah.
What do you think in terms of diversity, gender diversity in work, people that you've worked with, male or female or whatever you tend to be these days?
Yeah.
Just drop it in the comments below or get in touch and we can relay these questions back to Denise.
Exactly.
Or Denise
Maybe where you are in your office, have you got a very obvious gender divide? And if you've experienced it, we always love a good story. Keep it clean. A good story just to kind of support. Yeah. We have other feedback, Denise. We'd love to sit and talk with you a lot more, but we are curbed by a little bit of time.
Well, actually, on the back of that, in terms of pay. In terms of remuneration, have you experienced the fact that someone on your peer gets paid more?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is that very obvious to you? And you know this?
I mean, there was a difference. There was a difference. I'm not saying it was 50 or 100% more, but there was. And
for exactly the same kind of role, same deliverables.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just wrong.
No, of course,
completely.
I don't understand that. If you get anyone feeling,
And not just this day and age.
it was obviously justified, but.
Oi, bugger off! My wife's here in 10.
I will never understand that. If you're filling a role with capability, which is typically what you're buying or hiring, then who do you care who fills it, right?
But I also experienced it from benefit point of view.
Yeah? Explain. Please explain.
For example,
bugger off!
I had a situation where I wasn't allowed home office, but my colleague was. And there was no explanation for that. So,
I mean, again, how do you overcome these challenges? Do you accept them, or
I guess you kind of work?
I'm always trying to speak to my manager or my boss. I am usually a very direct, straightforward person. I am always trying to keep it diplomatic and polite.
Yeah.
But I am always speaking my mind.
Right. So it's kind of not what you say, how you say it type thing,
Exactly.
Is that peach tea really sweet or not?
Exactly. So I imagine, this will be an ever-changing and ever-evolving thing over coming weeks, months, years, centuries. And so you will pick who you spend your time with. Well, I mean, for as long as you have the luxury, who you spend your time with. And by that I mean work with, that sort of stuff. And if you don't, then, of course, in this ever-changing world, you're free to move. And,
you have to do it, Kenny, because if you are a type of a person who is trying to work hard and build up something and you want to feel good about what you reached in your professional life, then you have to choose the way that you're going to be happy there. Otherwise you can try it, but then 3 months later you're going to be gone.
And have you been honest about that with your senior managers? Have you gone in and said, look, it's not working, this needs to change, or
yes,
I'm off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously I was again, was polite and diplomatic.
No, sure, of course, yeah.
But yes, I was sharing.
There's something steamy on your table.
Exactly. And was it received in the way that you would envisage?
It was accepted.
good.
It was accepted. I never had any unprofessional or mean respond.
I see.
But it was not always handled
Or it wasn't always acted upon.
Or acted upon,
I see.
exactly.
Which is just as frustrating as...
Well, of course, it's because I like what you're saying.
But then you see
I like what you're saying. But
you see the situation, and you have to assess it for yourself and decide whether you want to continue under this condition.
So, Denisa, if we're conscious of time, we always get in trouble for kind of overrunning. If we can ask you, I guess the ultimate in questions is, we talked a little bit about going in the right direction. Where do you see this going? Are you going to get salary parity? Are you going to be? Is there ever going to come a day when you're going to walk into a role and know that you're on par with your male colleagues?
It will happen, but I'm not sure it's going to happen until I am working.
That's a worry.
That's
a worry because you're young.
yeah, I know. I mean, you're born, you and I are like... We normally
I
say...
am planning to retire in 15 years. So.
I age a year a day.
Yeah, we do reflect and go, that was 2 years ago and it feels like 2 minutes. This half of the table is like 400 years, but we won't ask. We won't ask.
I mean, it's a tough question to answer. And
it's a tough change to...
I am not trying to say that there is no positive future coming. It is, but based on the current situation, I don't really see personally it's dramatically, rapidly changing. It's changing.
Very gradual.
But there is a slow or kind of steady progress, but not fast. But also you have to understand that you are talking to a person who is a bit impatient as well. So.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely.
And the generation today is like, I'm on my iPod.
No, exactly. I mean, they have the attention span of a goldfish, exactly.
Okay, well, it's like we need to wrap this up. Once more, thank you again. We're powered by excellinstant.com. Have a look there if you're looking to change your career. Recommend a career, recommend someone else. Put a comment in the box below. We might even give you some referral. Get on the show.
Exactly.
It's good night from me.
It's good night from...
Good night. Thank you very much for having me.
And good night from Kenny. And so we'll see you next time. Episode 9 up and coming.
See you in the secret bunker.
Be safe.
Be safe.